So this video is about the, you can somewhat say, hyperdimensionality of non-local equalization applied to a local framework, especially in terms of relationships, right? Because often in a relationship, one party or the other might pedestalize the other, or not just in relationship, in any framework, right? In any type of relationship, whether it is a teacher-student relationship, guru-disciple, God and followers, boss and employees. We often think that there is a lesser than and a more than. And in a kind of local dimensionalities, you can say this is true, yes, because there's no such thing as untruth in whatever scaled locality you are positioning your vantage point. There can be any type of applied truth or reasoning, right? So, you see a lot of videos about relationship datings. Don't put them on a pedestal, or this or that, or he wasn't that great, or you're a princess and you deserve the best, and all this stuff, right? But there is a way to actually feel less than someone else while also feel you are not. Now, often this is done in the positioning of altitude, right? Vertical placement on a hierarchical ladder, on a dimensional ladder, right? However, when you collapse the vertical placement with other causalities, with interdependence, because obviously the person regarded as high is only regarded as high because there are those regarded as lower in whatever perspective that give meaning to that height, yes? Because if that specific lower in relation to that specific higher collapses, then that higher becomes the new bottom, right? So equally, they need each other, and the high needs the low, and actually the low doesn't need the high. It flips very fast. The moment the low doesn't realize it doesn't need the high, it flips to being the high. And that can happen in a split second, right? Ironically. To give an analogy, let's say you are working for a boss and you're grinding and all this shit, right? You feel you need this boss, like he's a millionaire. The boss is a millionaire, right? So you're gonna work your ass off to be in a good grace and all this stuff. And you are in a lower position, but reality can be in such a way that this can flip. Let's say you won the lottery, or some other thing, right? You get a billion euros, $1 billion, whatever. Then suddenly, in a flip of a switch, in a split second, you are, in fact, higher in hierarchy than your boss. So, and this can happen in any kind of factor, not just physical factor, spiritual factor, psychological and emotional. There's a flip of a switch, a different reasoning, a different brain wave, and suddenly you are in a juxta position, in a flip position than the one you were looking up to. Then suddenly you look down, because not that this might be in a grander scale true, not necessarily, but perhaps in a local in a local framework, local psychological, emotional, spiritual, physical framework, this can actually be your reality in that framework and in the reality of the other person. So, in some sense, what I'm trying to say is that, especially in relationship, the function or that the function of feeling less than actually can be flipped, right? Because let's say you are very very low on the consciousness stack. Let's say you are the dark. You are the darkness, right? And if you're not aware, if you don't know yourself, you might think, yes, okay, the light, the one who is in the white, the one who is the white is, you know, very good and stuff, better than me, right? Well, white collapses without the black, right? The white becomes the new black if the black collapses, right? And so this flippening of value system can happen very fast and also invertedly and interdependently. And so I was thinking about this because when I went more down in dimensionality in terms of consciousness, I find myself more easily being able to very easily to just be around the people, right? Not feeling this irritation that you might have that, oh, I'm spiritually higher, or my consciousness at such a height that I cannot integrate, I cannot move about, right? So you're kind of stuck on some higher position. So this stands to reason, are you more powerful because you're higher, or are you weaker because you are incapable to move where you need to move, right? Amongst the people in a workplace or whatever. Yes, you might think, okay, you're high spiritually, you feel all kinds of things. But that comes at a subtraction of a power for you to be able to function in this world. So are you then regarded stronger or weaker? It kind of tends to flip or collapse. So especially in terms of relationship, that can be the enjoyment of thinking someone else is higher, right? Or even someone else is lower. It's actually much more harder for the enjoyment to be sometimes to think, oh, someone else is lower, because of the arrogance that shows up and the kind of resentment, right? The condescending attitude towards a being which you regard as lower. So in effect, then the lower becomes again the one with the power, because the lower one can feel very nice about being someone that is being around someone that the lower regards as higher. So in that sense, the power flips again to the one that is lower, because that person can enjoy the other one's presence, while vice versa no. So you see, it's like kind of a matter of perspective in that sense. So in terms of dimensionality, it is not always, okay, higher is better or lower is worse. Because in a term, even on the vertical axis, the power distribution always equalizes. It's never like this, right? That the higher will always be more powerful. Actually, it doesn't really work like that, because like a sea, you cannot have one part of the sea being 100 meters higher than a kilometer further away, right? And so you have this equalizing force, and you even have that in the elements, right? Like let's say if you take water, if you take air, you cannot have a space in the air where there is less air, because that space will be quite quickly filled by other air, right? Now with Earth, this is a bit different, because you can have mountains. So in that sense, the basic substratum element, you kind of can have a hierarchy in that sense that you can't have with water, air, ether, and space, and because Earth is reintroduced as light on the Agnya chakra, light can also have a different distribution, right? So the equalizing, so at certain levels it has to be equal, otherwise, because that space gets quickly filled. Well, with other elementals, other levels like the foundation level, the Muladhara chakra, you can actually have in some sense hierarchy, and as well as the Agnya chakra. And at the Sahasrara, things become non-local, right? So yeah, but of course, this is not that much about spirituality. It's more about how you relate to others, because in my sense, I also in relationship resented someone that I deem lower, and I've been resented by someone that deemed me lower as well, and I think maybe also this can be connected to the fact you don't want to be where you are, or you don't want to be around that specific person. Because even if you deem someone as lower but you still want to be around that person, you would still make that effort, right? And that's kind of what I'm saying, that it's for you to identify, is it just some mental brainwaves, how you relate to others? Is it some disbalanced idea, belief system of hierarchy? It's yeah, that can be thought about.